Welcome to episode 76 of the Creative Train podcast. This one is called The Recital. Yes, that moment you've all been dreading is upon us. It's recital season. Weeks, if not months, have gone into this moment, and I'm not talking about those performances that are the hinge point on whether we're accepted to post-secondary studies, but for the casual music student, the young kids just wanting to strut their stuff a little bit. Those brave young souls who at any level of experience are willing to get up and out there and perform for their family, friends, and their fellow students. And as recital season now draws to a close, I'd like to reflect on some of my years as a professional music educator, preparing and coaching my students to this very big moment in their lives as musicians. All aboard? Every 6 months, 2 of the studios I teach at run a recital, one just prior to the summer break and one just prior to Christmas. And I jokingly ask some kids on their next lesson following their recital, what are you going to do for the next one? And although it's still 6 months away, it's pretty amazing to see how many folks have actually given thought into their repertoire that far in advance. They don't see it as a burden, nor do they resist it when I ask. They're all like, yeah, well, I want to do this song, but I want to change that, and I think this and that about it, and maybe I'm going to sing the chorus with a bit of a different melody. And that is incredible for us music teachers to hear, that they not only take it seriously enough that they plan ahead, but they actually have the courage and determination and understanding that they are able to change things. Whenever a student chooses a particularly difficult song, whether it's a typical classical type recital piece or one of their favorite pop songs or a classic rock song, I always tell them that it's their responsibility to bring something fresh, new, and original to the arrangement. I let them know that outside of the standard classical repertoire, nobody ever covers a song exactly like the original, unless, of course, you're in a tribute act, at which point it's your responsibility to do the exact same arrangement. A big part of the fun for students is then taking that responsibility and thinking about how they would like to rearrange their piece for performance. I'll make suggestions, but I'll always remind them that they hold the reins. My job here is to help them shape the overall arrangement and coach them through to the ultimate performance. I'd say maybe 9 times out of 10, this approach is not only inspiring, but gratifying for the students as they gain the confidence and motivation to work through to the recital date, but also carry this attitude into their future musical pursuits. That 1 out of 10 times is usually the student feels so overwhelmed by the whole process that by the recital date, they're sick of the song and they never want to participate in another recital as long as they draw breath. And that's kind of sad, but they always have my blessing in whatever their choices are. Another tough moment this time of year is the auditions for college and university positions that high school music students have been preparing for. These are not performances for friends, family, and peers who are silently obligated to applaud and encourage you. This is war for some. This is a battle for placement in a school with limited space for enrollment. This, as well as music competitions, feed the worst kind of attitudes in young musicians. And that is that music, or any art for that matter, is first and foremost a competition. They're trained and fueled to have a competitive attitude in their endeavors in art, leading them to believe that there is indeed a superior level of artistry that they should be aspiring toward. And this is just so wrong. Sure, set your goals high so that you can achieve the absolute best that you can, but don't do it so that you can defeat your peers as one of the perks of that journey. Past their teens and into adulthood, these folks become the most insufferable musicians who often find themselves outside of the joy and camaraderie of music being made for the sake of enjoying the art. They're often quite pleasant at first. When you first meet them, they're happy to talk about music and gear and such, but then the inevitable issue comes up when they casually press you into conversation about your knowledge of music theory. It always happens 100% of the time. This is the positioning move that they will all make, trying to understand where exactly you are in the grand scheme of how educated you are. I could tell a few dozen stories about this one, but a quick one comes to mind, and this was a chance encounter I had with a local musician, much older than myself, who played in a jazz band. They were a big band, so to speak, with the horn section, the piano, and all that kind of stuff, probably 15 members. I'd never met him before, but he knew my name, I knew his name, we knew about one another. And we got to talking about what we like to perform, originals or favorite covers and instrumentation and stuff. And I told him that I like to do the unexpected covers, not necessarily the B-sides or the lesser known material, but sometimes the things that are near and dear to us that we kind of forget about when the next new thing comes along. Those ballads that are like super big for you for a little while. Maybe there's some poignant lyrics in there that I know get people. See, I DJ too. So when I DJ events like weddings and that, I see the way people respond to certain songs if I play them when they're not out in the normal repertoire of a wedding DJ. And sometimes the reactions are amazing. People are like, oh my God, I haven't heard that song in years. Thank you for playing that. Those are the kind of songs I like to do. So I said, my originals kind of walk the line between, country and jazz to other melodic instrumental inspirations from like Spain and North Africa, and especially the Balkans. And he just smirked and said, yeah, everyone around here seems to like country music. And he had that very dismissive eye roll and that one side of his mouth smile. And he went on to tell me that his band plays, quote, the standards and by the book, end quote. Now, I thought that was a bit strange. That since one of the most important aspects of jazz is improvisation, so what book was he referring to? So remembering his dismissive comment about my repertoire, I replied with, oh, so you do covers too. That's great. And he reminded me, no, those aren't covers. Those are standards. To which I said, unless you wrote it, it's a cover. And he literally started shaking his head with that dismissive smirk on his face and walked away from me without another word. And that was the last time I let one of those folks bait me into that kind of conversation. So it's not only the recitals and auditions that bring out this competitive bullshit in people. I think it might partly be them feeling like they need a sense of superiority over others. Maybe they feel like they've failed their adolescent dreams of becoming a global viral rock star or something. And it makes them feel slightly better when they can, put someone else down. Maybe they don't feel so faily then. It's a long and winding road getting into these kind of things. It brings up a lot of other side topics that I could go into. But if you find yourself considering getting into art competitions, whether it's music or dance, keep in mind that these can foster some pretty destructive attitudes in your creativity, not in your performance, in your creativity. Maybe not right away, but the attitude that art is for competition is pretty toxic. Once you're out of that age when you're regularly competing, kids do it all the way from like early teens up until they're done high school kind of thing. It can turn you into someone that nobody wants to play with, like actually play. The vibe some folks bring to rehearsals and bar gigs is so toxic that it kills the vibe that you should be there for, and that's the enjoyment of making music. But if you're preparing for a recital for the next year already, keep this idea at the forefront of your mind. You are bringing art to your listeners. You are showing people that you can rearrange somebody else's song. It's not magic, it's skill. You're not in competition with your peers. You're there to enjoy and share your joy of being a creative person. Enjoy the process. Ask for honest critique, input, and observations, even from folks who don't do what you do. Ask a non-musician, what do you think of this song? A lot of the time they'll just say, oh, it's really good. Good job, man. But when you as an artist bring someone into your world, you are giving them a glimpse of the magical process of creativity that just might inspire them to finally get back to music, get back to drawing, or get back to wanting to dance. Recitals, performances, whatever you want to call them, are a chance for you to bring beauty into someone's life for just a few moments. And however small or fleeting those moments are, if you got up there and did your thing, call that mission accomplished. And maintaining that attitude into your adulthood, or instilling that attitude into your children and into their adulthood, is one of the greatest things you can do. A creative mind is a happy place. A creative mind is fun to be around. A creative mind can reframe a difficult situation into something workable. And most importantly, a creative mind stays young. There's your pep talk. Now go get to work. Yeah, I kind of went off the rails a little bit there with the story about the jazz guy, but that took me from that one element of really wanting to address why we get into making music. The recitals, they're just a way to prove to others that we do it, not for recognition, but once you realize the joy that it brings to other people, when you see their faces smiling back at you after you've done it, you hear the applause. Most people, within seconds of having performed their recital piece, are so invigorated and eager to do it again that moment right there instills the joy and love of music in them. Not going to a competition. It's not what it's all about. Remember, a creative mind stays young.